Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Technical
Technical difficulties.
difficulties.
That's all right.
So,
Yo, first up, here's the host, F Brand. Explaining knowledge that's applying, never guessing. Next in line is Zach, the stats king. He'll call you out, cross you over, it's a sure thing. I a cheddar, no one better, crazy knowledge. On point, talking pros down to college. Jackie Jack on the grind, he'll never tire. Youngest buck on the show, he brings the fire. Never slip, keep your grip, Tico's in the booth. Ease the drip, Tico's lit, always fits the truth. Finally, it's me, it's KG. Piling stats, spitting facts, daily. The Sports Shed, the Sports Shed. The Sports Shed, the Sports Shed. Podcast, the Sports Shed, the Sports Shed.
Welcome to another episode of the Sports Shed Podcast. And as the intro stated, I am your host, Efren. And along with us is Cheddar, Tigo, Keith, Zach, and soon will be arriving will be Jason. Welcome all. We are going to get started here. The first thing we're going to be talking about today is the Major League Baseball and the standings and the wild card. And as of now, in regards to the division leaders right now, we've got in the American League East, we actually have the Yankees ahead of the Baltimore Orioles by 1 game. In the American League Central, we've got Cleveland ahead of Kansas City by 1 and Minnesota 3 games. In the American League West, we have Houston ahead of Seattle by 3.5 games. And at some point, I believe back in the mid-July, Seattle was actually ahead by 10 games. And now Houston had just taken over because Seattle's manager was just fired about a couple of weeks ago. Moving on to the National League East, Philadelphia are on top as they have been from day one, and they're ahead of Atlanta by 6 games. And moving on to the National League Central, we got the Milwaukee Brewers ahead of the Chicago Cubs by 8.5. Unless something dramatic happens, it looks like the Milwaukee Brewers will be winning the National League Central. But the most contested division right now is the National League West. The Dodgers are up by 3 games over Arizona and San Diego. But ever since the All-Star game, the All-Star break, Arizona and San Diego have the top 2 best records in baseball, making this division a little bit closer. Then as far as the wild card, because we can't forget that as well, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Minnesota right now have the top 3 wild cards. Right behind Minnesota, who has the 3rd spot, is Boston. Boston is only 4 games back. And then the next 2 is Detroit by 5.5 and Seattle 5.5. Then in the National League, the top 3 wild card leaders is Arizona, San Diego, and Atlanta. The next is the Mets, 3 games behind the last spot. The Cubs are behind by 5, and San Francisco by 5.5. So those are actually contested races, pretty much everyone. There may be a couple of divisions that is pretty much over and done with unless something dramatic happens. But other than that, does anyone expect any changes to be done, or do you think it's just going to remain by the time the season is over?
I just like to quickly mention that the last time we talked about this, at least in regards to the wild card for the National League, I said I think it's gonna be tough for the Mets because all it takes is for 2 teams to get really hot, and so far the Diamondbacks and Padres, like my dad mentioned earlier, they're 2 of the hottest teams right now. It's not impossible, but it's not looking too good right now. Obviously, we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
Look, as far as the wild card, yeah, Arizona and the San Diego Padres, especially the Padres, ever since they made those trades for the bullpen, and someone actually called them the mega bullpen. And look, they're pitching lights out. Their starting rotation, even Darvish right now, he's not even playing, or he's not able to be pitching because he's on the IL. But right now, what they're doing is they're just bankrolling on the bullpen, and right now they're carrying that pitching staff. But again, just the Mets being 3 games out with probably about 30 so games remaining. Um, it's not looking good, but it's not that they're completely out of it yet.
Yeah, I
So
believe they're still kind of where they were last time we talked.
right. So they're still there. And people forget in the month of August, the Mets played 20 of their 29 games on the road for the entire month of August. So going into September, they're going to be playing a lot more home games. So hopefully down the stretch, the fans will come out and support the Mets, and hopefully the Mets play better or on at home more so than on the road. But they actually played somewhere around 500 or just slightly above. So they did what they had to do getting through that tough stretch in the month of August, 20 out of 29 games on the road. As far as the teams that are ahead, specifically the Yankees and the Dodgers, I mean, right now they're just being carried by one player in each team for the most part. Not to say that they don't have multiple players on each team, but right now you've got Aaron Judge and Otani, arguably the two best players in baseball. Aaron Judge right now, it seems for now a lock for the American League MVP, unless somebody sees anything differently. That's what I think in regards to Aaron Judge. I know. No, go ahead, Zach.
I'd just like to quickly say that I was the only one on this podcast that felt like the Yankees were going to make the playoffs, and right now they are ahead of the Orioles, and it's looking good for them. I just like to quickly point that out. And then obviously Soto is doing his part as well. He's had a big hot streak as well, so I do want to throw his name out there. But yeah, you can go ahead, Zach.
And you did make that prediction over the actual Yankee fan.
Yep.
That is true. That is true. Cheddar, you've got anything to say about that? Because you
Yeah,
are
the
Yankee
Yankees are only one game ahead of Baltimore, out of the first wild card spot. That could change in a second. No, my bad. Sorry, 4.5 games, I believe, in the loss column ahead of Orioles.
Yeah, but the
Technically.
Orioles are
Right.
one game behind. the
Yeah,
Yankees
one
for
game
the
behind
division.
overall in the division. Yes,
Yeah, they're
And-
4.5 ahead of the
ahead of the
wild
last
card
place.
spot.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean right now.
So can the Yankees still fall out? Yes, because their starting pitching still has been kind of weak. It's iffy. Garrett Cole's just opted out of his last year of his contract, mid the end of the season. But Aaron Judge, what can I say about Aaron Judge, man? That dude's a beast.
He's
The
all right.
He's a beast. He's on pace to break his home run record in the AL for with 63 home runs. He's batting like 385 since the All-Star game. I mean, like, what can he not do besides steal bases at a higher clip than Shohei Ohtani or Bobby Witt Jr.? What can he not do?
So, Dad, I want to ask you: given at the moment, has your MVP winner changed? Your AL MVP winner, has it changed?
No, I still think I still believe at this point I know
You're
I picked
great.
Bobby Witt, I picked Bobby Witt Jr. to win the MVP. What was that? What was that?
There's
That's
no way.
crazy.
Right now I know
How
that I had picked Bobby Witt Jr. But as far as changing my vote, I have no problems admitting saying that Aaron Judge would get my vote right now.
Oh,
The only thing,
Oh,
the,
all right.
the only again, the only thing, and I said it before, but I'll stick with it right now because you cannot dismiss the fact that Juan Soto is also having an MVP caliber season as well.
Now,
The key thing is this. Remember what I said back then in the other previous show? I said like the National League 1988 National League MVP race. As long as Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, because there are voters out there that'll do it, does not end up splitting votes, specifically the second and third place votes, because Aaron Judge is going to get most of, if not all, most of the MVP first place votes. It's the second and third place votes that's basically going to come out and dictate the MVP race. As long as those votes,
Not really.
No.
When you
Well,
continually get first place votes,
I get it.
That
Can
doesn't.
I-
That's not going to affect it then.
Can I say something? I also think Juan Soto's having this good of a season because he is batting ahead of Aaron Judge.
Yeah, he's got Aaron Judge protecting him, which
So
Yeah.
I think that's going to go into the favor of Aaron Judge as well. And Juan Soto's also helping Aaron Judge because if Juan Soto's on first, you're not walking Aaron Judge to
He-
get him first and second.
and so with that, if you actually look at the walk leaders, Aaron Judge only has one more walk than.
Yup.
No, Soto only has one more walk than Aaron Judge. They're
They
first
both
and
lead
second
the
in
AL.
walks, and
Oh.
that's factoring in Aaron Judge is backing Soto, so it's like,
I
and then,
agree with
and
you.
then you got Judge with nobody backing him up,
I agree.
and
I
Soto
agree with
has a better eye. Most people will agree
everything.
with.
Everything you guys are saying, I am agreeing 100%. I'm looking at it from the perspective of some of these voters out there, journalists and reporters. They sometimes tend to vote with
got
their
one.
hearts. Sometimes they tend to vote for their favorite. And I'm
I-
not saying that they will. I'm just saying if those votes get split up between Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, all I'm saying is that just gives Bobby Witt Jr. the opportunity to sneak in. I still believe Aaron Judge will win the MVP, and he should win the MVP.
Let me go. Can I go real quick, Zach, before I lose it?
Yeah.
So now with the voters, there is one voter that is going to be completely dumb. He's dumb. Stephen A. Smith, dumbest take I've ever heard on First Take. He said he said Aaron Judge is only having this good of a season because Juan Soto's hitting behind him. The whole season, Aaron Judge has been batting behind Juan Soto.
This is nothing new. Okay.
So it's like don't comment on stuff if you're not watching the sport or keeping up with the sport the whole time. So just don't comment on it.
Keep in mind, he says he's a Yankee fan, by the way, for the record.
Just don't just comment on someone's name because they'll get you clicks and get you views when you don't actually watch the game or root for a team. You're just bandwagon. Because Aaron Judge is a hot name. Juan Soto's a hot name for the Dominicans. He's a hot name. So of course you're gonna talk about him, but at least do your research. Aaron Judge has a hit in front of Juan Soto once this whole year. So where do you get that?
Before we switch topics, I'm just saying test them both. I'm just saying,
I just want
As a Red Sox
to
fan.
quickly add. I still don't see that happening because it's still clear that Judge is the best hitter on that team. He's putting up better numbers. He has a better average, on base percentage, OPB, OPS. He's first in home runs, RBIs. He's second in batting average. You just look at that and you're just
triple crown.
you got to
race.
give it to Judge.
Yeah, no question.
That's
But
all.
sometimes it's hard to predict how these voters tend to vote. That's all I'm saying. It should be clear that Aaron Judge should be the MVP, but unfortunately, stranger things have happened. But Aaron Judge right now clearly is and should be the MVP. So, moving on into the National League with.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Shouldn't we talk? Are we going to talk about the best player right now, or are we going to go to the NL? I just want to quickly ask that. The best.
No,
player
we
right
can
now,
talk
or we
about the
go
best
back?
player. I was just gonna tie it in. We can talk about the best player. I was just gonna tie it in with.
Hold on.
Hold on, we gotta look. We gotta look. Go. Hold on.
Are we all doing?
Oh, it's Jason.
You gotta do the echo cancellation.
We're all good.
No, there's an echo cancellation thing with Jason that we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
How about now?
Yo,
Should be fine.
I mean, I still kind of hear. I still hear echo.
It says I can't change it while we're recording,
Oh.
so I don't know if Keith has control.
It won't let us from our end.
Says the same thing to me.
So we continue to be echoing. Correct? I don't hear no more echo.
You
Yo,
muted him.
Well, I turned it down.
Okay. So,
I muted myself, so I'll just keep myself.
all right, we can move along. Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about the best player. I just want to run real quick the National League with Ohtani. That right now he's still ahead of the MVP with his numbers in regards to possibly being the first 50-50 home run, 50 stolen base player in Major League Baseball. He's pretty much leading in many of these categories. But as far as the best player between Judge and Ohtani, Zach, go ahead. Who do you have?
All right, so my take is if we're talking baseball player, I have to give it to Ohtani when he is able to pitch and hit. Because we're talking overall baseball. We're talking about one of the best pitchers and the second and third best hitter in the league right now. So you're factoring in second and third best hitter, and you're factoring in one of the best pitchers. I mean, he's able to just do it all. So factoring that in, when we're talking just purely the game of baseball, he's pretty similar, not far behind Judge in hitting, but then you factor in he's an ace. Like, he is an ace. So Ohtani as a baseball player is better than Judge.
I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one, because when he came in from the to the Angels, he came in primarily as a pitcher. You know, that was the thing. Even though that they knew he's a two-way player, but he came into the majors to the Angels primarily as a pitcher. So then when he started hitting, I don't think anyone foreseen the numbers that he was actually going to be putting up. As far as like just pure baseball player, yeah, you could take all the numbers into account, but it's one thing if Ohtani was better at hitting than pitching, and say that he was a spot starter or a fourth or fifth man rotation in there. But like Zachary said, he is actually an ace. And just earlier this week, he started throwing off the mound. He's not pitching this year. He's going to pitch next year. But he's actually started pitching off the mound earlier in the week. So to me, as far as players concerned, to me, the best player right now in baseball is Ohtani.
The best player in baseball right now is Aaron Judge, because Ohtani can't pitch.
Did you hear what I said before, though?
He said right now. He said right now.
I'm talking about baseball. Like,
yeah, baseball.
At the game of baseball, who's the better player?
Ohtani is not pitching right now. If Ohtani was pitching, Ohtani is the best player in baseball.
You
Just
can
because
change
he can
it to
pitch.
fit your narrative. I'm talking
I'm
purely
not trying to
baseball,
fit no
factoring
narrative.
in that he can pitch. Like,
Right.
as a baseball player, Ohtani's better.
And
Yes.
he's done it for the past 3 to
But
4 years.
But right now, Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball.
I'm still gonna say Ohtani, because when Aaron,
What is Ohtani? Ohtani's
here's
not
why.
hitting as good as Aaron Judge.
Here's why.
Ohtani's not
He's
pitching
not
right
far
now.
behind. You're acting like it's a
What are you talking about?
landslide.
Mike Trout.
What do you
Mike,
look at the
hold on.
numbers?
When Mike Trout was healthy and Aaron Judge was playing and Ohtani was playing and pitching, people were saying that Mike Trout was the best
294.
player. Okay,
He's
he
an
was the
MVP
best
for the
player.
National League.
Okay,
Okay.
You're acting like he's way better. He's not.
hold on. He was Mike Trout was the best player. Then all of a sudden, Ohtani is putting up these monster numbers offensively, and he's putting up numbers as an ace. So just because he's not able to pitch this year, I'm not going to disregard the last 3 to 4 years, because when I say right now, I'm also going to be including the last 3 or 4 years, because when they were making that argument for Mike Trout, they were including the previous years when he was putting up those numbers. So I'm still going to say Ohtani.
That's like saying you're like Ronald Acuna Jr. can't even be a part of this discussion because he's hurt right now. No, he is part of the baseball conversation because he's a baseball player, and considering what he's done, you can't just completely disregard it to try and fit your Judge narrative.
I hold injuries and everything accountable. So,
But
like
we're
Ronald
talking-
Acuna,
we're
Ronald
talking
Acuna came
baseball.
and stayed healthy for 17 games. So I'm not even going to talk Ronald Acuna.
We're talking baseball. It's like with Mike Trout, like when healthy as a baseball player, he's still
Right.
up there,
He was
When
in the
though?
but he just
conversation.
gets hurt.
But when
You
is he
can't-
healthy?
Stop with the healthy thing. We're talking about baseball. You as a baseball player. That's like comparing like, oh well, you've been hurt pitching in your career, so we're just going to completely disregard. No, I'm not going to disregard like you were a good pitcher. I'm talking about you, Zach. Like you were a good pitcher. You just got hurt. I'm not going to completely disregard your pitching just because you're hurt. That's like talking about the game of baseball. Like when we're playing on the varsity level, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to factor in your pitching as well. It's just unfortunate that you were hurt your senior year, but I'm not going to like completely discredit that. Like you can't pitch now. Like no, no, I'm not going to do like that's not how you do things. We're talking about baseball, and just because you're hurt, it's unfortunate. But then you can't just like throw that out of the discussion. Oh, Ohtani's hurt. Like, nah, it's Judge. Like as a baseball player, Ohtani is not far behind Judge at hitting, but then he's also an ace. He's not a 4 or 5.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
But I would respect
if I'm just going off of hitting, Aaron Judge is the best player in the world.
But that's not the topic.
I'll give it to Ohtani because he can pitch and he's an ace of his pitching staff.
I respect that.
Yeah,
I respect that.
I'm not ignorant.
I mean, you've started. It's sounding ignorant. You go back and you play, and the first thing you said was, like, "Oh well, he's hurt, so by default, Judge is the
Now,
best."
can
baseball player."
Otani still pitch the same after the
I
UCL?
don't know. Do you
We'll
think
find-
Acuna
we'll-
can still
we'll
hit when
find
he comes
out.
back? Like, we'll see. Like,
I mean,
you gotta
No,
go
Mike-
off of
can,
what we've
can
seen.
Acuna run the bases when he comes back?
Mike Trout. I'm gonna put it to you this way: Mike Trout. Now you
Should
can start
retire.
maybe Mike Trout. Now you can start basically start putting him maybe set him aside now because he has been hurt probably for the past 3 to 4 years. 1 year and a half is one thing, but when it's 3 to 4 years, now you can't really start putting him in the conversation right now because you've been hurt so long that now we're gonna want to wait for him to come back and play a full season too. Does he have it? I'm not gonna just disregard it after just one season, because remember he
Fair
still
enough.
can hit. He still can hit.
Fair
It's
enough.
not like he can't play at all.
Fair enough.
Unless anybody else has any take on the Judge or Otani conversation. All right, so we're gonna move this right along. So as everybody is aware, last week Saturday, college football actually started, and this week actually starting tomorrow and 4 consecutive days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and yes, even Sunday, there are going to be college games coming in as well. So we're gonna go ahead and mention a few games. We're gonna be mentioning about the first 3 or 4 games that are gonna be relatively easy for these power ranking schools that are up ahead. The first,
Are we gonna pick who we want to win them games?
yeah, absolutely. The first one, I'm just going to get it over with and talk about Oklahoma versus Temple. Okay, Oklahoma is fair. It's being favored by double digits. Basically, they're saying they should be smoking them.
Sorry, did you say Oklahoma versus Temple? Sorry.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
Uh,
Oklahoma's gonna win. They should.
Oklahoma's gonna
On to the
win.
next.
Move on. And the number 16. Just real quick. The only thing is they're just going to have a new quarterback. But even then, these are going to be NFL players soon on Sunday. So I've got Oklahoma. I'm assuming that's going to be decisive. Oklahoma
Yeah.
over Temple.
We better
Yeah.
not pull a Florida State. That's all I'm gonna say. But
Yeah, it
should
needs
take
to be.
care of business.
It definitely needs to be Oklahoma taking care of business there.
Yeah, that's all it is. Next up is actually going to be Michigan and Fresno State. Now, Michigan is ranked number 9. They're ranked number 9, and the only thing is that I'll say about Michigan is that there is only one returning starter in their entire offense, and that's their tight end. They have 4 returning starters on the defensive end because pretty much everybody either graduated or probably went on to an undergraduate 5th year somewhere else or in the NFL or no longer playing football. Again, they're playing Fresno State, a Mountain West Conference school. Fresno State tend to usually be ranked towards the end of the season at the bottom of the 25, but this one, Michigan should be able to take care of business. Michigan is actually favored by 21.5.
you
Again,
kind of talked about that a little too long. On to the next.
there you go.
Yeah, it's Michigan all
They're
day.
gonna take care of business.
Yeah, it's
just-
Michigan.
Or we're gonna blast them next week. There we go.
There you go. And then after that, the next one, only for Jack's purposes, it's real quick. North Carolina versus Minnesota. North Carolina is favored
Who
by
cares?
1.5.
Okay.
Tar Heels stink. Tar
There you
Heels
go.
stink. Tar
But for
Heels are
Jack's
gonna
sake,
lose.
take
But-
care of business.
Just take care of business.
Tar Heels are gonna
Alright?
lose just like they lost to NC State in the college basketball.
There you go. So staying in the ACC, and we finished with North Carolina. We're gonna go right into the Florida State and Georgia Tech game. Obviously, Florida State was actually favored by 10.5. They were upset by Georgia Tech, losing by 3. To me, the key to this game, obviously, everybody finds that as a shock. However, the main thing that ended up happening is that the offensive line and the defensive line was actually dominated in the trenches by Georgia Tech. Florida State only was able to rush 98 total yards and only passed for 193 yards. The quarterback that transferred from Oregon State, DJU, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I don't want to be disrespectful by doing so. He threw no touchdowns. At the end of the day, Georgia Tech just basically manhandled them in the trenches. Unless somebody saw the game and they want to tell me differently,
So
for me, that's a surprise considering Florida State was ranked 10th overall in the country.
yeah, Georgia Tech did they just punch Florida in the mouth nonstop? They just ran the ball like honestly, they were running through screen, freaking styrofoam, whatever you want to call them, barriers. Just ran through them. You have you have two backs over 50 yards. 36 carries for 190 yards overall, compared to Florida with 31 carries for 98 yards overall.
I just think it's hilarious that they went undefeated last year. They didn't make the playoffs, so then they were like, all right, we're gonna this year it's being bumped up to 12. We should be good. Nah, y'all lost the first game. Like that's tough.
It's not looking good, man. Florida State needs to. I don't think they can lose. They can't lose two more games. They can't lose two more games. They
might not be able to lose one
They're
more.
just about. They have to do it. They need to get some really good quality wins.
Listen, with the ACC, it's not really so much of obviously not lose any more games. Listen, they can, as crazy as this sound, it's really not about losing as far as like any more games. I still believe they can lose another game, maybe even two. The key thing is that you want to be able to be in the conference championship game, because if you win that conference, there have been many teams in the past where in the ACC, 3, even 4 lost teams have made the conference championship game and still was able to advance. All it is just being in the conference championship game with, even if it is 3 losses, winning and still have a shot at making the playoffs because you won your conference title.
I think another big one is like, let's say they win and they only get like another loss, right? Like they probably have, like, considering like what the SEC has for schools and teams, they probably have to blow like these ACC teams out to even get a chance. Like if they get another loss, like they have to have good, just blowout wins.
When the rankings come at the end of this weekend, I believe that Florida State is going to go probably, I don't know if they have a game this Sunday, if they do, but they're definitely going to drop. They'll probably be ranked somewhere between 17 and 21, just because they lost to a team, even though it was a conference game, they lost to a team that wasn't even ranked. So that was the surprising part. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was a shocker. Everybody called it. Although I saw College Game Day. Everyone had Florida State, right? Everyone, Sheamus, because it was out in Ireland. Sheamus from the WWE was the only one that picked Georgia Tech. The only one out of everyone in that at the college game, and the only reason he picked them was because the punter is from Ireland, straight up from Ireland.
Gotta love it.
He got a full scholarship as a freshman to be a punter at Georgia Tech, and that's the reason why he picked it. And Sheamus actually was the only one, first celebrity pick to go 1-0. I don't think anybody would saw that coming. So since we're talking about the ACC in Florida, this weekend the big game is really now going to be number 19 Miami versus Florida.
We are kind of going quick. If anybody just wants to jump in and say anything, just jump right in real quick.
Just jump right in,
before
please.
we move on.
Jump right in.
Just want to throw that out.
Yeah, I don't want you to think that I'm just moving it along.
See, now with Florida versus Miami, I think this could be closer than what people think. Honestly, I honestly think this could be a closer game than what people think. But I mean, Miami's still going to pull the win. But
I think people think it's going to be close.
I've been hearing blowout.
It's a rivalry. I think it's going to be close.
Who? Miami and Florida?
Yeah.
They rarely play each other.
Yeah.
I think they played each other like, I don't know, 4 times in the last decade or something like that.
We're just losing people.
Yeah.
We just losing people.
I know. No, look, Miami is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. It really is.
And in talking about between both teams, the difference with Miami right now, they're getting back their wide receivers. Okay, Xavier Restrepo, they got Jacoby George and Sam Brown, which Sam Brown actually is a transfer from Houston. But the key guy is really Cam Ward, coming out of transferring from Washington State. Okay, last year alone, he threw for over 3,700 yards, 25 touchdown passes, and 7 picks. The only thing against Cam Ward is that he fumbled 14 times. That's really the key. 14 times. Okay. So I'm gonna just go ahead. Oh, and by the way, Miami is actually returning 3 starters in the offensive line, and their running back, Damian Martinez, is another transfer from Oregon State, and he rushed for almost 1,200 yards. Now I'm gonna leave it now to
Third best in the Pac-12.
And I'm gonna segue to let Keith because that is his Miami U Hurricane team. So, what do you think? Without you sounding biased, be honest. Who do you think is actually gonna win, and why?
I mean, I'm gonna go with Miami.
It's fair.
Just because the quarterback, our quarterback is so different this year than what we had last year. I believe he's going to throw for a touchdown and probably run for one, possibly two. And I believe that Martinez is probably going to rush for, I'm going to say he's going to score about 3 times. It's just my opinion.
High scoring game there.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we're going up to play them, so it's going to be a little more difficult because we're going actually to, Florida to play.
Gainesville.
So I mean that's going to factor in a little, but I don't know. I just feel good right now.
I just think like obviously bringing in the quarterback, being ranked and then playing Florida. I think this is like lined up perfectly to like have that opportunity of like Miami's back. Like
Yeah.
you're playing Florida, you're ranked, you got the transfer quarterback. Like if you want to bring Miami Hurricane football back, I feel like this week
Now is the time.
go out there and just just hit people, blow them out, and just like make a name, put your name out there,
Well, I mean, we got Miami on one side, but we can't forget about Florida because last time I checked, they're going to be on the other side of that field. And their quarterback coming back is Graham Mertz. Now, last year he was 3rd in the country in completions at 73.9%. The only downfall with him is that he doesn't go deep down the field as much. However, he did throw 20 touchdowns and only 3 picks. So he is careful with the ball. But there are going to be moments where he's going to have to start taking shots down the field in order for them to move the ball a little bit much more than they did last year. But the thing that they are having a weakness is that last year they were 110th in pass defense. So that should open up Cam Ward's eyes wide open. And I think that that's going to give him, with those 3 wide receivers that they have right now, 2 returning, 1 transferring from Miami, that's going to give a lot of opportunities for these wide receivers to go deep because they don't really have a strong secondary. The other thing is that Florida, their home opener, okay, they are home opener only. They are on a 34-game winning streak, okay,
that's coming to an end.
which is the
that's even better.
which is the longest, which is the longest in FBS currently right now for home openers. And let's just be honest, okay? Because when I lived in 3 years for Florida, Florida fans, Florida State fans, and Miami fans, I know one thing: they can't stand each other. They hate each other with a passion, probably just as much as the players, obviously competitively, dislike each other. Now, unless anybody else has anything, what does everybody else think about the either Jason or Tigo? What do you guys think about the Miami-Florida game?
Now, one other thing real quick is that they're very close in their overall battle, against each other. Miami only holds a 2-game, margin over them. They're 29 and 27 overall against each other. So it's not going to be a walkover. I hope it is, but they do play each other tough because they're interstate rivals.
Yeah.
It's going to be close, but I think I definitely think Miami's going to take it. Florida's not been at their best for quite a while, and I think this is Miami's time.
Well,
That's my boy.
I'm gonna be like Sheamus and go with the underdog. I'm gonna go with Florida.
You
Go with Florida.
You would.
That's a new T-shirt coming out next week.
I'm gonna be like my boy Sheamus.
I'm gonna be like Sheamus, yo,
Coming
and
at
go with the
Tua,
underdog.
coming
I'm
after
gonna go
Miami.
with Florida.
I'm gonna be. I'll be.
What you
I'll
got
be
against
honest.
Florida?
In all seriousness,
Well, I mean, Miami specifically.
in
Tito.
all seriousness, Keith, where's Tigo's shirt when he said Daniel Jones is better than Tua?
I got a whole room I'm
Listen,
starting for with Tigo.
He's
with
got
Tua
receipts.
T-shirt.
He's got receipts.
I got receipts. Trust me.
I'm
I
gonna
got
be-
people working in the back. Don't worry.
We need to sell those shirts at Jack and Jaden's games.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I understand that the Miami is favored by 2.5, and I believe it's only because Miami's on the road at Florida. I get that. I honestly believe that Miami's going to win this game by more than 7 points. I don't see how Florida. Look, Miami is one of the teams in this entire country. Literally, it's one of the top teams in this country that took advantage of the transfer portal. They literally solidified a lot of the positions that they needed. They solidified the running back position, okay, with Martinez out of Oregon State. But the main one that Miami hasn't had really in a long time consistently is the quarterback position, which they have in Cam Ward. If Cam Ward can just take those 14 fumbles he did last year, and let's just say for the sake of argument, just cuts it in half, just half, I truly believe that Miami is actually going to win by at least a touchdown. I think that 2.5 is just because they're on the road. This is Miami's time. This is their breakout game. And if they can't do it in Miami, if they can't do it this week against Florida, I don't care if they're on the road. Miami's going to have a hard time convincing the committee to receive an at-large bid unless they can squeeze into the ACC conference championship game and win it outright. This is the game where I hate saying it, but to some extent, this is Miami's season on the line already in game one. So I have them winning by 7 minimum. So this Florida's not showing me anything right now.
Before we move on, I think we're going to probably start a Sports Shed shop soon. So any viewers that actually listen to us and hear the kind of buffoonery that comes out of those two people,
I love that.
Chetta and Tigo's mouth.
I love it. Dude, I have so many people wanting stuff, man. It's insane.
We're going to have things called the Tigo line and the Chetta line.
Hey, I'm down. I'll keep coming out here. I'll keep coming out with ridiculous quotes and stuff all day.
No. They're not ridiculous.
It's not going to be ridiculous until
it's not ridiculous when it becomes true.
Listen,
right.
You keep saying this ridiculous line. They're not ridiculous. The only reason they're not ridiculous is you actually believe your ridiculousness.
Oh, I
about the show. That's the problem.
Do. I 100% believe Malik Neighbors will be better than Tyreek Hill by the end of Neighbors' career. Yes, sir.
I wish I had a time machine because.
Oh my gosh, man!
I'm with you, Cheddar. I'm with you on that one.
No. Well,
what?
I'm with Cheddar on that one.
Oh my god,
sir.
Man! You guys,
Did you bump your head?
I'm waiting for the Tigo shirt.
Listen.
I don't agree with that one.
Listen, you see at the bottom of Jason's name, somebody is not drinking the Detroit Lions Kool-Aid right now. That's the problem. If I was you, Jason, ship them some of that Kool-Aid over there that you have down there in Tennessee, my friend, because they truly need it. All right.
No problem.
So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna actually remain in the still in the ACC. Obviously, one of the biggest games coming along is going to be the number 1 team in the country, Georgia, versus the number 14th team in the country, Clemson. And Georgia is actually favored by 13.5.
Okay, so let's
go, Georgia.
I'm joking.
And everybody is saying that this is being played because Georgia, the University of Georgia, is in Athens, Georgia. But they're all saying that it's in a neutral site in Atlanta.
It's at the.
That's not a neutral site. That is not a neutral site. Yes, by definition, it is a neutral site, but it's still Georgia. It's still a home game.
It's Georgia.
Okay, and I mean, listen, we have to discuss this because Georgia's number 1, Clemson is number 14, and I've said this before on my previous show. Dabo Swinney's 15 minutes of fame is over. Okay,
I said so too.
He actually has utilized least the transfer portal, and he admits it, and the NIL. Most of his entire team, the entire roster, is mostly straightforward recruiting. Okay, when you have other teams that are using the transfer portal, many people out there don't believe that Clemson is going to have that successful year as many people think. I'm going to throw something at you. Okay, their quarterback is Cade Klubnik. Okay. Last year, he averaged 6 yards passing per attempt. He only threw for 19 touchdowns, 9 picks, and about a little over 2,800 yards. Okay. Also, their defense was ranked 94th in allowed tackles for loss. Okay. Tackles for loss, 94. Now, I don't know what that may be as far as their defense. Maybe their strength is the defensive line. But in college football nowadays, you have to pass. You have to be able to pass because right now, one of the things they're saying is that their offensive line has issues. All right, and like I said, they have very little, and their running back on the offensive end, but last year they didn't even rush for 1,000 yards. By the way, he had 13 touchdowns, but didn't even rush for 1,000 yards. Okay, moving on to Georgia, presumably, unless he slides down, presumably, potentially the number 1 pick overall. I'm gonna say this again, Giants fans. Listen to me extremely carefully. The presumably number 1 pick, you can't screw this up, is Carson Beck, one of the quarterbacks. He threw for under 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 picks, and 73 completion rate. Again, Carson Beck. His name is not Daniel Jones. Okay. However, they also have a running back that transferred, as crazy as it sounds, from Florida. Trevor, is that? I think his last name is Etienne, Etienne. Is he related to the gentleman that plays for the Jaguars?
Of course he is.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure. I don't like to make assumptions. Combined for the last 2 years, he had almost 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns with the Gators. And the only problem is he may not start because he got in trouble for DUI. So there's a possibility he may not play the first.
Imagine that. A Georgia player getting in trouble for a DUI. Wow. Where have I heard that?
I heard
that before.
I heard there was more than one player that got in trouble this year.
Just a
So-
few.
I think
Just
like
a few.
25 players.
25 players.
25?
Yes,
they're the Dallas
25.
Cowboys. They're the Dallas Cowboys of college football league.
Look,
They're making it hard for you to go with the other team.
That's why I said before, I don't know how they're going to field a team. They got all these felons and DUI players.
look, it's no different than Alabama if they had the similar issue. Okay, I'm sure that the guys that are in behind that are the backups, I'm sure they're probably 4 or 5-star recruits. I have a feeling that they're not going to have a problem just stepping into their positions, even if it's for a game or two, and taking care of business. I think Georgia's going to dominate Clemson. They're going to win by more than 13.5, and I think that they're going to cover the spread. Unless someone else has, what anybody else has to say about the Georgia and the Clemson games?
I think they're gonna cover the spread too. I hope they even blow them out even more worse than the spread. That I don't like Clemson. Never did. I never liked that coach. He's a next shit talker that talking trash when it's game time.
Clemson is getting destroyed by Georgia. Listen. It's one thing to stop the Georgia's offense, it's another to try to score. It's 45-3.
Wow.
Oh,
I don't know about that.
hey. All right.
45-3.
40, wow.
I mean, I do think Georgia's.
All right.
I do think Georgia's gonna blow them out. They'll probably put up 40 points themselves. I think the big thing that's been hurting Clemson these last few years is they don't have their Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson anymore.
No.
I think that's just the big thing. Obviously, like my dad mentioned earlier with the NIL and they're not wanting to recruit a quarterback, and with that, I mean that's just gonna hurt
It's on
Clemson
them.
football more.
Hey,
Yeah,
what do they
that's what I'm
say? You make your bed, you sleep in it.
Well, that's what I'm just saying. Like that's why it's been their quarterbacks. That's why they were good. Those years, and
Yep.
they haven't. When he doesn't have one of those top quarterbacks, I mean,
They haven't done anything.
Listen, this is why I say look at all these ACC teams that we just talked about, okay? Excluding Florida State and Georgia Tech because that was an in-conference game. Excuse me. I'm telling you right now, you're going to have a 3-loss team in the ACC battling in the ACC Conference Championship game. It's going, I feel like it's going to happen. So this is wide open. So right now with excuse me, with Florida State losing, it opens up the doors. Even though they're playing Georgia, no, it's not going to open up for Clemson. Who am I kidding? It opens up the doors for Miami, and it may potentially open up a team that may potentially sneak in. Everybody has Florida State, Miami, and Clemson, the top 3 in the ACC, but there's always that team like a Virginia Tech or a Boston College or North Carolina that can sneak in. because in the ACC you've got those couple of trap games that those top three teams always happens to lose, and it's happened every single year for the last several years. So that's why I believe a three-loss team will be going into the ACC championship game.
By
Who
the
that
way-
is,
Yeah, Boston College. Who said that last week? Oh yeah, Mr. Cheddar.
By the way, I have Boston College beating Florida State Monday.
Oh, stop it.
I mean, I'll take it.
I mean,
I do.
they did-
I do.
I mean,
did.
the way this is looking, it's looking like this is Miami's to lose. Right
You
now.
got-
get
you got
Florida
that
State,
bad
most
of a-
likely Clemson losing. Like,
Yeah.
If they lose these trap games like they always do, I might be done this year. I might be
You might as well
done.
switch. You might as well switch. You might as well switch to a Florida Gator fan.
Come over to
Please.
Michigan.
That's disgusting.
Come
Don't
to
ever say that
Michigan.
again.
Before we move on, I did miss a team, and I want to apologize to Jason. Kentucky is playing Southern Mississippi. Okay.
LSU.
I know it's this weekend. I don't know which day it is. I'm more than likely it's probably Saturday. We can check.
It's
that real
Saturday.
quick.
It's Saturday at
Saturday.
7:45.
Correct.
And Kentucky is favored by 28.
Yeah.
Just-
Yes.
better
Okay.
take care of business.
So they need to take, and I just want to say something real quick with Kentucky. They got a new offensive coordinator. This is going to be Mark Stoops' 12th year. I only say good for Stoops because he's Bob Stoops' brother. Go Oklahoma. All right. And the only thing with Kentucky, just real quick, they had the fewest snaps offensively per game in the country last year at all out of 133 teams. So as a result, they ended up getting a new offensive coordinator from Boise State who actually has an up tempo and likes to snap the ball real quick to get more plays in. That's going to be the only thing. That's
So-
all. And they need to
Yeah,
defend
so
the-
Kentucky's getting back to what they're known for, the up-tempo offense. Last year they got with this slow down, hardly running the ball, putting our quarterback under a lot of pressure, and we didn't have the greatest offensive line at that time. Now, I will say the entire offense is almost completely revamped because we lost almost everybody. Either they were seniors or they went to the NFL. But this kid, Brock Vandegrift, I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's a transfer from Georgia. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. We got some new wide receivers. Dane Key's still there. But our defense is still rated tops in the whole nation. So this game will show what they can do, and then we'll see what it's going to look like when we got to go up against the big dogs like Georgia and Tennessee and things like that, and see if we even have a chance this year. But I got big hopes for Kentucky, and I'm going to be at a few of those games.
So I just wanted to bring that out to Kentucky. So I apologize, Jason, for that.
No worries.
But I just wanted to bring that out. The next game, okay. That some people, we have a couple of more games to go, but the next game that I want to talk about right now is the number 13th LSU versus the number 23 or 23rd USC. Right now, I believe I'm trying to figure out who's I think LSU is favored, but I didn't realize. But I don't know about how much. If somebody would be able to look that up for me, that'd be great. But LSU right now.
LSU is favored by 4.
So LSU is favored by 4.
See?
Okay.
And that's
So-
South Carolina you're talking about, right? South Carolina versus.
no, Southern Cal.
Oh, Southern Cal. Okay,
Lincoln
sorry.
Riley. So
Okay.
you know what? Cheddar. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you take this one over, and then the rest of us can chime in as you discuss LSU versus USC.
All right, so I got LSU winning this. They're gonna prove that they found another top QB who was a 5-star recruit. They also have they got some recruits that are 4 to 3-star in the offensive line to reassure the offensive line that they lost into the draft. And you can't go wrong with LSU's wide receivers. Wide receiver U. They got shoot. I always have it written down in my notes here. I just forget to pull them up. So it is his name is I don't want to get his name wrong, I'm sorry. Aaron Anderson. He's a sophomore. Very quick and twitchy. I'm excited to see what he does this game because there's no more neighbors. There's no more So he'll get the majority of the targets. I'm excited to see him, and I'm also excited to see their QB to see how good he is and see if they actually have a chance this year to somewhat make some upsets or surprises.
All right. As far as this game, LSU versus USC, all right, I'll start with LSU. Okay, the number one wide receiver coming into LSU, he played last year. Okay, his name is Kyron Lacy. He's going to be the number one wide receiver. He had 30 receptions, 558 yards, and 7 touchdowns last year. That's their number one.
Oh, Lacy.
Their number two wide receiver is going to more than likely be CJ Daniels. He actually transferred from Liberty. He is the kicker with LSU. The only thing that they have going for themselves is 4 of their offensive linemen, 4 starters, are returning this year. And trust me when I tell you this, they're going to have to run the ball. Their starting quarterback is actually Garrett Newsmeyer. He has been at LSU for 3 years, and in 3 years, he only started 1 game. So we have no idea what this guy's doing. One game. That's it. We have no idea what this guy's going to do. So those 4 linemen that are actually returning from last year is actually it's a godsend to LSU because right now they have to figure out what to do offensively. And I don't know if this gentleman, Gary Newsmeyer, is actually going to be the quarterback, only starting once in the last 3 years. So in my opinion, to keep the pressure off of him where he doesn't have to throw it 30 or 40 times, be another Jayden Daniels, they're going to have to run the ball. Okay. And then as far as USC, another unknown quarterback, Miller Moss. Okay. This is his 4th year at USC. And because Caleb Williams didn't play in the holiday ball game last year, he actually did pretty well against Louisville. They actually ended up beating Louisville. He went 23 for 33, 372 yards. He actually threw for 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. Again, not much of a surprise for the Lincoln Riley offense. However, defensively, they actually got a new defensive coordinator out of UCLA. Okay, and supposedly this guy is supposed to be really good. Last year, okay, the defense only allowed a little over 18 points a game. They were ranked 14th defensively. They only allowed 301 yards, and overall defensively, it looks like they were actually ranked 10th overall. So they actually brought in a new coordinator from UCLA. He has the numbers and the resume to back it up. But I'm going to tell you this right now. See, here's the problem with USC. They're in the Big Ten. Enough said. They're in the Big Ten. Okay. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. Here's my other prediction. They will not finish at 500. They will not finish over 500. They're going to be under USC. You heard me correctly.
I agree with that.
They will be under 500. USC, I believe, is going to get smacked in the mouth, and Lincoln Riley is going to be fighting for unemployment because he will be fired at the end of the year. I don't believe that USC is actually going to do. It's fantastic that they brought in a new defensive coordinator with a resume, but you're going into the Big Ten. This isn't the Pac-12 anymore. You're playing with the big dogs now, okay? And USC has not played with the big dogs. The closest thing to a big dog outside of Washington and Oregon that they play every single year, Notre Dame, because they're next, all right? So does anybody else have, what does anybody else think in regards to LSU and USC?
I do think LSU is going to win. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be fairly close. I was going to mention the quarterback and his bowl game performance. I'm looking at USC's schedule right now. Looking at it, obviously, I think we'd have to see, can this quarterback show that he can play? Obviously, we know how Lincoln Riley is when it comes to backups coming in, seeing how he played in the bowl game. And if their defense can improve just like a little bit, I think that they will be above 500. I think it will be like, barely above, like a 7-5, or they might just go 500 depending on the games. Because I do think that they will score, and then when they play those smaller Big Ten teams, I think the question is, will that team, put up 30, 40 themselves? Because I would still see, USC possibly putting up 30, 40 points themselves. Obviously, depending on how the quarterback play, I think seeing if he has any, if he looks comfortable out there, he looks poised, he looks like he can control the offense, then I think that is very telling for how their season will go. I think they'll be 500 or just above 500, in my opinion. But yeah, I think LSU will win in a close game.
Jason?
LSU.
It's just straightforward. He just said LSU. Tigo
LSU.
or Keith? Either or.
LSU.
Thank you.
Well, LSU right now has the nod from this group here, but you heard it correctly though. USC will not finish above 500. Now, as far as the last game that we have here to talk about is the number 17 Notre Dame against the number 20th Texas A&M. This will be played at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is actually favored by 3. Okay. Unfortunately, we do, because they're ranked number 7th, we do still have to discuss about the most overrated, overhyped college team. And I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it in the past 30 years. Okay, so we have to talk about it by default. Okay, they're saying that both teams strong. They're coming in back with a strong defensive line, and the only big name right now that they're talking about as far as Notre Dame is their All-American tackle Howard Cross III. Okay, I guess he's the former son of a giant tight end, Howard Cross Jr. And last year he had 66 tackles with 7 tackles for a loss. That's their big name. They've got unproven quarterbacks, okay, right now, and I just don't see Notre Dame beating Texas A&M at home. And then watching and reading when watching the either First Take or what have you over at ESPN, they said it's probably one of the loudest and one of the most difficult stadiums to play in. All right, we would know. I know Jason would know with that Texas A&M being in the SEC now. All right, it is one of the tough. And people forget they are the originators of the 12th man. Mm-hmm. Okay, right now Notre Dame's they have 2 new tackles. They have a new left tackle. Then their new right tackle is hurt. So now his backup is going to be coming in to be playing in that game. So as someone actually said, they have a new right tackle. So you've got 2 guys that are supposed to protect the front and blind side of this quarterback, and they don't even know how it's going to be. I think Texas A&M is actually going to beat Notre Dame. Again, I think it's going to be by at least a touchdown.
Okay. I agree with that, actually. Texas A&M, I think, is a sleeper.
Anyone else?
Rudy. I'm going with Notre Dame only because that was my uncle's favorite team. So I kind of have to, be a little supportive. Rest in peace.
No, I can respect that.
I'm going to go... I'm going to go Notre Dame. Yeah, I'm going Notre Dame.
Tigo, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm going Notre Dame with the upset.
Wow. Before Zachary gives his prediction, okay, just want to let you know that the Texas A&M's quarterback is a transfer from Duke, okay, Connor Wigman, who's
Daniel
coach.
Jones?
No, his coach Mike Elko is coming from Duke, so he brought his quarterback with him. The problem with Connor Wigman last year, after 4 games, he got injured and his season was over. But before he got injured, his first 4 games, he completed almost 69%. He completed about 69% of his passes, had 979 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. After 3 games, alone, he had the highest QBR in the country, ahead of Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr., and Dylan Gabriel. And then he got hurt after the 4th game.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Who did they play? because that's
Who's
a big
they?
factor. Who did he? What were those games he played against? Who?
I would have to take a look at what their schedule looked like last year.
I mean, if
Unless
they were
somebody wanna
soft
look it up for
teams,
me. Well, usually early on, including USC, Washington, and Oklahoma, usually they do play soft teams. I mean, generally speaking, at least the first couple of games. Except now that we have more teams in the powerhouse conference, but generally speaking, prior to this year, most powerhouse teams play a soft schedule at least the first couple of games of the season, or at least
That's the only
three.
that's the only reason why I was asking, because some
Yeah.
some numbers can be deceiving,
That's
depending
true.
on who they played.
Oh, and here's the kicker: the starting quarterback for Notre Dame actually played 3 seasons at Duke, two years under the current head coach at Texas A&M, Mike Elko.
So
So he knows them.
they played Clemson, Lafayette, and Northwestern, and they beat Clemson 28-7 last year. That was one of
Okay.
their games. So two
Yeah.
nobodies, but they did beat Clemson.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did beat Clemson.
So
I guess
They
for me,
put a whooping on UConn.
I think a lot of teams put a whooping on UConn
Yeah.
last year.
and they put
okay.
obviously Lafayette, UConn. They lost to Notre Dame by 7, but I think you said he only played 3 games. So, I guess for me, I mean, I didn't really look into it too much. I think given that it's in, at Texas A&M, they have a pretty good crowd. I'd probably lean Texas A&M in a close one. I do know that it was about 2-3 years ago where they had like the number 1 recruiting class. Obviously, I don't know how many of them stuck around, but if those players are going into their junior, senior year, and they're still with the team, that could factor in. I don't know much about these teams, but I would go Texas A&M in a close one.
Well, you have it here. It's unanimous. Notre Dame over Texas A&M. All right. So as far as the college games, I'm sure just like everybody else here, I'm excited. It's actually going to start tomorrow, and
Yep.
full blown tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as well. Just want to remind everybody, Oklahoma plays at 7:00
He said
on ESPN on Friday.
Damn.
This is a little reminder.
Did you say unanimous Notre Dame? Is that what you said?
Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back.
'Cause I'm not.
It was actually 3-3.
Yeah,
3-3.
I'm not. I picked
my
it.
apologies.
We're split down the middle.
It's split down the middle. Sorry, my apologies. Thank you for the correction. Every now and then, I guess a thing or two wrong. So no, we're splitting 3-3. But Texas A&M will take care of business. Here's real quick. Everyone is saying out there that basically again that this is Notre Dame's season if they lose Texas A&M. They have one of the weakest schedules. The other 2 ranked teams in their schedule is Florida State, which they lost. So now they need Florida State to win, and USC, ranked number 23, which they play them at the end of the season. And I don't anticipate USC being ranked when they end up playing Notre Dame. So they have one of the weakest schedules. And with this loss, this is it. This is their season. I don't believe that they should be in the playoffs, even when one lost team. I would take a 3 SEC team a loss, 3 losses from the SEC before I put Notre Dame in with 1 loss. That's just me.
I can't do
I mean,
that. I mean,
I-
even
I
if they're,
can.
especially if they're coming out and they're blowing these teams out, and then they handle their business and with 1 loss, like they beat the other 2 ranked teams. Obviously, we'll see Louisville if they will be ranked at that point. They were ranked last year at the end of the
Yeah.
season. Georgia Tech just beat Florida State, so they obviously coming off of that, factoring that in. I mean, I with 1 loss, I can't do it, but I mean, I'm not the committee, so.
The front half of Notre Dame's schedule is easy. It's just when they get it to the second half, then it could be difficult for them.
And if they lose to and if they lose to Texas A&M and they lose 1 more, definitely not in. Definitely, depending on how everybody else does, but definitely not in. Too many good teams. Too many good teams. Way better than Notre Dame this year.
Right.
I,
That
I
is
think
true.
this
I mean,
12 like factors in a lot going to
who do you-
12 teams, and I think
Mhm.
it shows more of like the schedule and how teams play against teams, whether they're blowing them out or winning closely. So
Yes.
I am interested to see how it'll look at the end of the season. You can go
So
ahead.
now I got a question. Who do you think can give Notre Dame a tough game? I only see Florida State and USC. I mean, could be Virginia, right?
Well, you got to remember Georgia Tech just beat Florida State, and then Louisville, like I said,
Yeah.
was ranked last year. So
Yeah.
we don't know about that. And Army or Navy is one of them is pretty decent in football.
think it's
I'm
a
not
Navy
Navy.
sure.
Navy just lost to Notre Dame like 45-3.
I know, but I'm saying I know one. I could be wrong. One of them
Yes.
is
That's usually a
fairly
good
decent
deal.
in football.
I'm with you, Zach. There's
I think
it's
it's
either
Army.
Army or
Thank
it's
you.
I
either
think it's
Army or
Army.
Navy, and I think it's Army, and they
Yeah.
usually have like a back and forth. It
Yeah.
usually is a very chippy game.
So those are
Right.
their last two games right there.
Yeah.
USC and Army, and then they played Florida. So
Virgin-
Florida State, Army, and USC are three of their last
Yeah.
4 games. If they go and they,
Yeah.
take care of business,
And it's Army at Army, and the USC game is at USC.
Yep.
Mhm.
And looking at like if they were to lose to Texas A&M, like it's a ranked team, it's an okay loss. And then if they go down and they run the gauntlet and they take care of business and get some pretty easy wins, like just blowing them out, like I can't say like I'm gonna leave them off
Can-
with that one loss.
Can quality wins be an issue though with Notre Dame?
Yes, it is
Well,
going to be an issue.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what it factors into the other teams and how they play. Like if there's an SEC team with 3 losses, but like they barely beat like the other middle of the pack SEC teams, but then they get blown out in their 3 losses. It's going to be kind of tough to be like, do I want them over Notre Dame when Notre Dame took care of business? They only had the 1 loss to start, like let's say to start the year, but like let's say if it was Oklahoma or Tennessee, where it's like they didn't really have any like. They barely took care of the teams that they were supposed to win. Like, let's say they had a spread of 17 or whatever, and they only win by like
4,
7 or 10.
7,
You
yeah.
know, that's why I think if we gotta really see like end of the year,
Yeah, how it
factoring
plays
that
out.
in, how the teams play each other. Like, I can't just straight up say like, oh, with 1 loss, with 2 losses, like it's gonna this 12 teams like there's a lot to factor in now,
Yeah.
and I'm very interested to see.
That's why the 12-team playoffs is just
Interesting.
Love it.
there's no sure thing. It's gonna
I love
come
it.
into. I
It's
love it
interesting.
because it's gonna involve things like, okay, I beat that team. Once I beat them, okay, now I need that team to have the rest of the season be good. Maybe even ended up being ranked. You're gonna play against teams that if you lose and their season goes down the toilet, then that's gonna hurt you. They're also, like Zachary said, you also have to see blowouts. Listen, obviously, you gotta have sportsmanship, but when you have a playoff spot on the line, you've got to add the points. You just have to because the committee looks at how well you played, especially not down the stretch, not so much early on, but down the stretch, and how convincing those wins were, especially against teams that really were not that good. Now, if you run into, let's say, an LSU in Michigan, and one of those teams win by 3, now that's a quality win, but that's also a quality loss as well. So they're going to take all that into account, and there's going to be a lot of teams like that.
And that would factor in because I think it was like Liberty that was undefeated last year, but they didn't play anybody, and then they ended up getting smoked by Oregon. Whereas Oklahoma had their 2 losses, they were around that 12 range, but they beat Texas. They were there in their losses, and they had like a bunch of quality wins. So now it also with those lower like Liberty, like if they go undefeated, it's like, well, to be 12 now, you got to have a quality win and show that you could compete now, which I also kind of like factoring that in.
Yeah, you got to at least have 1, maybe 2, but you got to have at least 1. I like to see 2, but it's hard with schools like Liberty. But you got to have at least 1, but 2 would help your cause, especially if you go undefeated. And it doesn't have to be a Michigan or a Texas or an Oklahoma or a Georgia. It could be a Maryland. It could be a Rutgers, because those are teams that are in the Big Ten. It could be a North Carolina State, even though they are ranked. But it could be one of those lesser teams in a powerhouse conference, and that could make a difference. So with that being said, on the college level, like I said, we're all excited for it to start, and I just can't wait. Moving on into the NFL, we're going to talk slightly a little bit about that because that season is also about to start. And as of today, Russell Wilson was named the starting quarterback. And to be honest with you, it was a no-brainer. To me, Mike Tomlin said that he was in pole position, meaning he was at the head of the game as far as getting the starting nod, unless he did something dramatically or something horrific that they would have given it to Justin Fields. Justin Fields had 3 fumbles in the preseason. Yeah, he put up some nice numbers, passing wise, completion and rushing. I think he had a touchdown or 2. But the fumbles I think is what ended up killing him. Even if he didn't fumble, I just don't see Russell Wilson not getting the job. You have somebody that's been in the league for over 10 years, has had 2 Super Bowl appearances, has won 1, should be 2. I won't go there. However, I would have named Russell Wilson. A lot of people are really jumping on this man's throat, which I really don't understand why.
He also had a solid season last year.
That's what I mean.
Except when they played us.
The last 2 years.
And when they played the Lions.
Listen, this guy had no team with Denver the last 2 years. He had 0. He had nothing. He had no one. Nada. Zilch. Nothing.
He was coached poorly last year. I'm going to say that.
He had he had a Pop Warner team. Is what he had.
Yeah.
Okay, he had nobody, and still put up decent numbers than a lot of the quarterbacks out there at the end of the day.
If you Pop Warner coach,
and I
he
think
did.
I just kind of thought about this. I think this also might factor in as to why they lean Russell Wilson. I mean, he's played without an offensive line so many times, and he's kind of used to it now. Whereas Justin Fields, he's still young. He doesn't know what to do when there's no time. At least Wilson can still somewhat improvise, and I think that gives them the best chance, seeing as their offensive line was not good in the preseason.
Makes you kind of think that Wilson can read a defense a lot better than probably Fields can, because he's used to having to do that. He processes things quicker.
There's also times where I could see why people are mad that Russell Wilson is the QB. There was times during the preseason where he was holding on the ball way too long, and he got sacked for it a bunch of times. He also fumbled.
No, he did not fumble. It was Justin Fields.
Was it Fields?
Justin Fields fumbled 3 times. He didn't use them.
Russell Wilson was holding on to the ball way too long at some points.
He's known for that. I just think you got to, like, just the matchup, and, like, Wilson is always known for holding on to the ball for too long. Obviously, now, given the fact that they don't really have an offensive line, he kind of has to. I mean, he's not going to have much time to do it now. Hopefully, when he has that time, though, he can make a read. But he is known for that.
But do you think Russell Wilson still has that in him to move like that?
He did it last year.
Yes.
He did it last year.
Yeah, he still has it. Yeah.
He's not going to be the MVP Wilson he was, for those, like, that 3-4 year span with Seattle, but he's still a solid quarter. He is a starting NFL quarterback. And I think Justin Fields will at least learn, hey, like, this is what Russell Wilson did when he didn't have an offensive line. Obviously, at some point, you would assume maybe whether it's this year or years down the line, Justin Fields can look at that, learn how to operate with no time, and go from there. But
because I'm struggling just thinking that they're even going to be a good team. I think they're just going to be struggling for a wild card position. That's just me, though.
That's what they do every year.
Yeah.
You also got to factor in, though, that they have a really good defense, and their defense carried them last year.
That's what would carry them is their defense.
And now look at it like this. Knowing how they played last year, they made the playoffs, right, Dad? They made the playoffs last year.
Yes, they did.
Now factor in Russell Wilson instead of Kenny Pickett. I mean, you would
Kenny
think
Pickett's trash.
Exactly. So now you throw in Russell Wilson. You would think,
true.
he's going to give me at least 2 more games.
2 more games,
And they won 10 games last year. So now if you add 2 more games going 12-5, that still could be good enough to win the division. I predict they're going to win the division.
And even if like their defense like doesn't like kind of maybe not cost them a game or two, but like you know obviously with those 10 wins, let's say you factor in the defense, you know, not coming in for those game or two, well, that whereas Wilson now will help you win that game or two, that'll cancel out and still get you around 10. So obviously their defense was great, amazing last year. Even if they take a little tiny bit back where it'll cost them a game or two, I think Wilson is such an upgrade from Kenny Pickett. It will
He'll
give
make
them
that
that
up.
game or two back to where they get that wild card spot.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to tell you something real quick on a personal level, Keith and Zach. Okay. So your brother, Artie, okay, we all know he's a diehard Steelers fan. He said Russell Wilson, excluding injury, okay, just excluding injury, he said that Russell Wilson will not get past the second week of the season, that Justin Fields will take over. So guess what we did? In front of a witness. Oh, I'm putting this on the. Oh, we're putting this online, so everybody knows.
Oh, no.
So we had a bet, and potentially maybe his future son-in-law Dan. Okay, he's my witness. So I made a bet with him, $200 that Russell Wilson will get past week number 2. And
No
he
way.
took that bet.
That's
No way.
an easy bet.
No way he took that bet.
Took the bet. Wait a minute. It gets better. Hold on. It gets better. No, the bet was 100. Okay. Then a couple of weeks
He
later,
doubled down.
he said double or nothing. And I'm like,
man.
what? Wait a minute. I went like this. This is what I said to him. This is what I said to him. No, but this is what I said to him. Dan, come here. I want you to stand right here. What did you just say? Double or nothing. Again, this is excluding. Now, if even if Russell Wilson doesn't lose the job and Justin Field is hurt before week 3, if either player gets hurt before week 3, then the bet is off. In fairness, that's what we said. That's what we agreed to. But if they're both come week 3 and they're both still healthy, and Russell Wilson starts week 3, I get my $200 and I have my witness.
Here's the thing too.
Are you
I
going to
think
walk right downstairs and get it?
No, I'm not talking about. No, it's not my father-in-law.
Oh.
It's Keith's brother and Zachary's uncle.
Oh.
Here's the thing. I do think having two like solid quarterbacks on your team, I do think that there's like a chance where they could make that switch earlier than like typical, but I think that that's like a 4 or 5 games where like if Wilson don't do it and he's not looking good in 4 or 5 games, that's where then I'm like that bet, like, okay, I can understand it. You know, whereas it's like you kind of get like 6 to 8, like half the season to kind of try and do something.
Right.
But like 2 games, like
Yeah,
I think
it's usually like week 4 where people would make a change on QB.
yeah.
I think what the Steelers could do though is what the Saints did with Taysom Hill. They'd sub him in, and he'd come in and run some either wildcat or throw the ball down the field, or he'd just take off and run. They could do that as well too.
I believe
think they're gonna do that.
No,
I
I
don't
believe
think the
Mike Tomlin
Steelers coach will do that though.
Mike Tomlin.
I don't
he
think
won't
he's
do
going to
that.
do it. I think he wants Russell Wilson to just gain that confidence from the year that he had last year and what he had to deal with. I don't think he's going to do that to him, especially before week 2. So sorry, Artie, you're going to lose that bet.
Let Russ
Here's the
cook.
kicker.
I
Here's
don't
the
think
kicker.
Russell's lost his confidence.
100% losing that bet.
And here's the kicker. If I read this correctly, 6 of the first 8 games that the Steelers are going to be playing are against teams under 500 from last year. So
Yeah.
Even the Dolphins, I think when they had the Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua, like Ryan Fitzpatrick got 3 games where he was, I believe, playing really well, and then they subbed in Tua. Like it took 3 weeks, and I remember that being shocking. So like to say like he's not after week 2,
Well,
like
and then after all that came out about what transpired between the two of them, I think Flores didn't even want to do that then. I think he was just pressured into doing that from the front up, from Ross.
But the difference between Russell Wilson and Ryan Fitzpatrick, it's not even close. It's a major difference between a Super Bowl winning quarterback and one that did he even make the playoffs when he played quarterback, or maybe once, maybe with
he
Buffalo?
was just a solid journeyman. He was like
Right.
Alex
Again?
Smith. He's like Alex Smith.
Ryan Fitzpatrick. You'll see him
the
on the
playoffs.
pre-game.
He has
see
made
him
the
on the.
playoffs.
So I don't know if he did. Yo,
No, he
Tigo,
has. Yes.
do you think Russell Wilson or Justin Fields should be the number one quarterback? Which one do you think?
I think you should give Russell a chance. I mean, he's still an elite quarterback. I mean, you got to
Fair.
give him.
It's fair.
You
You
got to
can
give
even
him a
see
chance.
it. You can even see it last year.
Yeah,
when they took
when they
Wilson
started to win.
out, he was playing well, and then that
Yep.
backup
Right.
came in and was just garbage. Like,
Garbage, right?
It still
Yep.
shows that Wilson can still like
Did-
control an offense.
Now,
The only
Sorry.
thing wrong with Wilson is his prima donna attitude. That's the only thing that's wrong with him. Other than that, he's a great quarterback. I mean, the dude is a good
I don't-
quarterback.
I mean,
to me, he doesn't come across like that.
He definitely comes across as a
he
prima
come-
donna, bro.
I,
Trust
he,
me, I
he,
tell you.
he,
he does.
he comes
He's not
across it.
Rodgers, I'll tell you that.
Not,
No, he ain't. He's not
The
Rodgers.
difference. I
Oh,
think-
don't get
I
me
think-
started on that clown.
I think the difference between Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers is that some people have said that about him when it's behind the scenes. You don't see it out in public
Right,
like
you
Aaron
don't.
Rodgers
You
does.
don't. Yeah.
Because you've had Richard Sherman and a lot of the former Seahawks players saying
Yep, I've
that he was
heard a lot.
treated differently,
Mr.
but it,
Unlimited.
but it was
Uh-huh.
behind the scenes. Okay, it wasn't out in the public to see it.
I don't know. Watch that Denver Lions
Yeah.
game, and Sean Payton was reaming him. In
He
the
should not have done that.
right on the field. Everybody was like cameras.
Everyone even said it. He didn't deserve to do that. He did
No,
not.
that's
he shouldn't
ridiculous.
have
Oh,
done
sure, but
That's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
That
That's
was
ridiculous.
he-
You don't
no.
you don't do that to a Super Bowl winning and MVP
He
winning
didn't like
QB.
Russell.
and it wasn't even his fault. A lineman jumped off line. It wasn't
Yeah,
even his
you-
fault.
You don't
Right.
do that. Like what have you done, Sean Payne, besides cheat and put bounties on people's heads?
Listen,
Be honest.
No. Oh,
he didn't
no.
like Russell coming in the first place. He didn't want
Yeah.
Russell there.
I mean, they bench. Sean Payton
Didn't
benched
he
him.
come in while Russell Wilson was there?
Yeah.
Or am I mistaken?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like,
Like,
that's
yeah.
on
Ru-
you at that point.
Right. Russell Wilson, I believe, at one point had won like 4 or 5 games in a row,
And then they
like
benched
something-
him.
And then they benched him
Right.
Yeah.
because he would not revise his
His
$38
contract.
million guaranteed
Yup.
if he had gotten
Right.
hurt. He said, "No, I'm not going to give him my $38 million guarantee. Get out of here.
You
You're
agreed to
insane."
it in the trade.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
And then they
You
benched
guys-
him.
The organization agreed to it. I'm not going to change my mind. You said yes. Now you want me to change my mind? Get out of here. And what exactly have I been doing that would require me or require you to bench me after I put
Right.
this like they were still listen. They were
in
still
the-
towards the end of the
yes.
season. They were still in the playoff hunt.
yes.
Okay.
That's still
That's-
getting investigated by the NFL
I
as
remember
well.
So
That's still getting
to
investigated.
me, Sean Payton did him dirty, and
He
we
did. He
played.
did.
And Seattle plays Denver, the first game of the season with Bo Nix, and just because of Sean Payton, I hope because of what he and yeah now I'm going to be biased. Damn it. Okay, what he did to my boy because I'm a
For real,
Seahawks.
honestly.
Go
I mean,
Hawks.
honestly.
I want the Seahawks to annihilate and embarrass the Broncos. Not because of Bo Nix. I love Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix will be a great quarterback. But because Zachary and I talked about hopefully Seattle drafting him and replacing Geno Smith before they traded for Sam Howell. But I just want him to, I want the Seahawks to embarrass Sean Payton because of what he did to our boy Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
He did not deserve that treatment. I don't
Yeah,
care
no.
what anybody says.
I lost all respect to Sean Payton when when
And
that whole situation went down. That's ridiculous.
And a lot of players, players, the analysts that were former players said he should not have done that. Russell Wilson, if you want to do that in the locker, do that in the locker room. But you don't
Right.
do that in public like that to anyone.
He know what he was doing. He
National
did that
television.
on purpose. Where he was doing that in the public
Yes, he
like
did.
that. You know
He
what he was
wanted,
doing.
he wanted to feed his own ego.
Right.
He wanted to feed his own ego.
Show he's
He
back. and he's the head
wanted
coach.
to down. He wanted to down an MVP and a Super Bowl winning QB in front of everybody. He wanted to down him and then bench him when they're winning games because he wanted to, because the injury clause.
Can somebody check real quick? Does Pittsburgh play Denver this year?
I can
Ooh, that's a
check.
good
I,
one. Hold
I
on.
want to know that. I
I'll
want to know that before we move on.
Well, I know they didn't finish in the same spot in the standings, so it'd
One
have to
second.
September. Wait, is that not it?
Oh, what?
No,
This
they
one-
do not.
They do
Pittsburgh-
not. Okay.
Oh wait. Wait. Yes.
Yeah, they play September 5th.
September 15th.
At
Second
4:25
week.
Second week of the year.
Okay.
at Denver. At Denver.
At Denver. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin, if you hear this, okay, what I want you to do is I don't want you. I'm not going to tell you how to run your offense.
Yo, that is their most expensive game. The Steelers is at Denver. That's
I
the
wonder
most
why.
Of
expensive
course.
game. Woo!
Mike Tomlin, what I want you to do, I'm going to look at you, Mike
Sorry,
Tomlin. What I want you to do is you come up with the best game plan you can ever dream up in your 17, 18-year career as a head coach, just for this one game. That's what I need you to do me as a favor. I need you to put Russell Wilson in a position to beat the living daylights out of the Denver Broncos. Okay? If you do that for me, I have a lot of respect for you right now, but if you do that for me, we good. That's what I need.
I lied.
Okay? That's what I need. I need them to beat because I'm rooting for the Steelers. I'm watching that game.
Hey, to be honest, you're gonna get your $200 from that game too, because Russ is definitely not going to get sat that game.
And what
during
week is it?
Seattle.
What week is it?
The second week.
No, Pittsburgh and Denver?
Yeah, September
The second
15th.
Back to back. Oh, man. All I know is
I-
week 3 starts, I'm getting my money.
I think Seattle plays that same time though, so you might have to figure.
Efren.
Red zone.
Ching.
You only see the teams in the red zone.
That's okay.
We play in New England, so we're at 1.
Oh, okay. All
They're
right.
at
So
4,
I'm watching those 2 games at 1 o'clock and then at 4 o'clock, their Pacific or Mountain time. So that's what we'll do. All right. So Russell Wilson, my friend, you've got a lot of fans here. Well, you at least have 2 fans here minimum. Keith, I'm sorry, not Keith. Zachary and I. Go Hawks. All right.
Should have handed it off, but
So
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go there.
one all pro to the next.
Yep. So just moving along, just real quick. CeeDee Lamb got his contract, 4 years, 136 million. So
How much of it was guaranteed?
I believe
Majority.
was it 88? Was it 88? Or am I?
Yeah.
Hold
or
on,
was
give me
it
one
that
second.
far?
Let me pull it up here.
I know that he got the highest signing bonus, I believe, for a wide receiver at the time of the signing of the contract. I believe. I know that in NFL history. As far as the guaranteed money, I don't know. Is it 100 million?
It's a 136 million contract,
Really?
4 years. Oh my goodness!
1 second.
Yeah,
I should see it. Wait, why is it giving me baseball? Stop giving me baseball.
That's okay.
I'll find it.
But you know what? That contract should have been signed at some time ago.
okay, I have it.
Go ahead.
It's 4 years, 136 million with a 38 million signing bonus and 100 million guaranteed.
Ooh.
There you have it.
That's what you get, Jerry Jones, for waiting, buddy. How's your ego now? Now you got to pay Dak and Micah. Get it.
Well,
I
listen,
remember-
they got that new contract money, so he got the money. The money's
Listen.
there.
I remember when guaranteed was only like a quarter of the.
I know.
whole
Yeah.
contract, and now
Exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
all of it. That's wow.
And now it's almost like 75 to 80% of it.
Pretty
Good for the
soon,
players. Good for the
pretty
players.
soon the NFL is going to have that those baseball contracts where everything's guaranteed.
But again, that's why these players fight. Well, I don't know if obviously owners can guarantee all of the contract that they want to, but again, that's why these players want as much money guaranteed up front. The plus side to that too is that money does not get counted towards the salary cap. That guaranteed money.
Can I say
Yeah,
something?
Cheddar.
This is off topic, but congratulations to Caitlin Clark on breaking the 3-point record for the WNBA. Just happened now.
Oh.
Just off topic. I'm sorry. I just seen it pop up.
Congrats.
Hear it live. Hear it live.
Rookie of
Heard
the
it
year.
live.
Rookie of the year. Yep. I
Yep,
think
because
right now
she
just
makes
real
more
quick.
than 30% of her shots, and all that.
Just
She-
want to throw it out. She has a better 3-point percentage than Angel Reese has. Regular
Oh,
field goal
I'm hearing
percentage.
some
That is
shots.
true.
I'm hearing some
it
shots
is-
fired.
It is true. That is not a lie. She's averaging 18 points, I believe 6-7 rebounds and a little over 8 assists a game. So
Other than rebounds, her whole stat line is better than Angela Reese.
More steals
Yeah.
and blocks.
it's
Yeah, everything.
it's
Damn box.
the thing. That's the thing that is really disappointing because Angel Reese, she's a double machine. The problem is that when
Well-
you're shooting under 39% and you're
As
a
a
low
post
post
player.
that
As a
is
post
unacceptable. You should not be shooting less than, at minimum, in my opinion, you should not be shooting less than 50%.
Oh,
She's
That's
a
what-
she's
at
a
minimum.
she's a double machine because she
Because-
rebounds all her missed shots.
She's
Damn right.
basically Andre
It is.
Andre Drummond. So on to the next.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Exactly.
yeah, congratulations, Caitlin Clark.
All right, so we'll go back to where we were, but yes, congratulations. so now here's the question with CD Lamb now, right? They got their money. He's got his money. Now you've got Dak Prescott right now, who is still waiting for his contract. He's not even asking. He's showing up for practice. He showed up for the OTAs. He's showing up when he's supposed to. Look, the guy's in the driver's seat. He has a no trade clause. He will become an unrestricted free agent. The guy gambled on himself before the first big contract he had. He had a phenomenal season numbers wise. He got the big contract, 4-year, 160. And now people are pretty much saying his next contract is going to be somewhere around 5 years, probably about 60 million per year minimum. You're looking at a 5-year, over $300 million contract. As far as that goes,
That's how they get paid. I mean,
That's,
Yeah.
that's how all the quarterbacks get paid. You can hate it.
Wait, hold on. And you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna get this started.
That's
Screw this.
ridiculous.
If that's ridiculous, what do you
That's
call the
ridiculous.
Daniel Jones contract?
A deal. I call it
I
a deal. You know why? Because he's getting paid almost less than Trevor Lawrence. All right, he's getting paid less than Trevor Lawrence. That's
Okay.
it. He's getting paid less than Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
Okay,
I mean,
All right.
How do you feel about the Trevor Lawrence deal?
it's the same thing. He's making
Okay.
$53 million. But
it's how all
again,
it's how all the quarterbacks get played.
right?
Get paid.
Dak Prescott, $60 million is ridiculous for Dak Prescott.
It's really not.
It's
Listen,
the money's
I'll
there.
be
The
fine
money's
because I
there.
want him in my division. I'll be fine. Because
Listen,
at least I know
listen,
they're going to
He,
win the Super
he
Bowl.
puts up top 5 quarterback numbers. He
Actually,
makes
top 3.
playoffs.
Does he
Actually,
win
top
Super
3.
Bowls?
He-
Does he get out of the first round?
who else other than Patrick Mahomes has done good in the
No
playoffs?
one. No, that's my
Right.
point. That's
So
my
that no,
point.
that's my point.
I
Is
agree.
that every
I
other
agree, though.
quarterback okay, well, so you can't be mad.
I agree with your standings. I hate the Daniel Jones contract. So throwing the
That's
Daniel
just-
Jones contract in
it's
my
just-
face it's not getting anywhere because I hate it. I disagree with
Listen,
it.
well,
listen.
well,
the
you
difference-
say you hate it for Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott's done more than Daniel Jones, so it's like obviously it makes sense that he gets paid more.
I want them to pay Dak. Pay Dak as much as possible so Micah Parsons can leave.
Did he sign or no?
No.
No, not yet.
No.
Yeah, but you one cannot say that sign Prescott so Micah can get his number. If he gets just percentage wise, look, CeeDee Lamb got 138, 100 million. So that's 38 million that's going to get towards the salary cap. The more money you guarantee in a contract, the less it goes to the salary cap. And right now, the Cowboys are valued the highest valued team in any sport at over $10 billion. This guy has the money to guarantee anything he wants. So it's really not the issue. They can pay
Like
him.
I said, the money's there.
And,
The money's
Tigo,
there.
and like Tigo said, the salary cap is going to increase every single year.
Yeah.
So it's not about whether the money not. Listen, here's the problem with the Dallas Cowboys. The problem with the Dallas Cowboys is Jerry Jones and his ego. Okay, because he had an interview, okay, with all these four-letter words starting with the letter F, okay, that I'm the man, I'm the owner, I'm the general manager, I'm the president. The buck stops with me. So if the buck stops with you, then you know what? You take the blame for everything that goes on with the Dallas Cowboys because you have hired how many head coaches since you bought the team? When Jimmy Johnson won 3 Super Bowls, what happens? You fired him, or won the Super Bowls. You fired him because you wanted to take the credit. Jimmy Johnson is the one that put that team. You may have put the team together, but he actually went out there and did what he had to do. But you can't sit back like all the other owners and let your people do their job because and you can't even give anybody credit. You want to take all the credit for yourself. So what that's going to do is that's going to not want to have players. Players are going to play for you because you're going to pay them. Okay.
I wish I had the
Or they
meme
get
where you see
DUIs.
his mouth trembling right now.
What was that?
Somebody pull up that meme where the Jerry Jones' mouth was trembling when they lost the playoff game.
Yeah,
I have
And
a
he looked
question.
like he was crying. He wanted to cry so bad.
You know he wanted to cry. His lips was like.
I got a question. I got a question. Tigo, is Dak trash?
Yes. All cowgirls is trash. I don't like cowgirls.
I agree. I agree with you, Tigo. I agree with you all day.
I guess we're in Lululand.
Those
or something.
cowgirls are
Yo,
trash.
Listen. I'm not gonna say that
Daniel Jones better than Dak Prescott?
Who you asking?
I'm asking Tigo.
Either
Well,
or.
listen. I can. All right. Yeah.
Tigo, why are you thinking? Come on.
I'm thinking. I put like this, right? Dallas got a line to protect Dak
Oh my
Prescott.
gosh.
So let's put it like this: if you put Dak Prescott in Giants line, would he succeed? Would he succeed more than and if we
I don't
put
think he
Daniel
would.
Jones in Dallas, where he has all the front line to protect him, you think is going to be the same?
No, I think Daniel Jones would be worse.
So
I
no.
think.
So
no,
you
I
think if Daniel Jones had that, he's
That
throwing up
protection.
39 tutties?
Yes, I think so.
I
yes,
think if you
yes.
swap Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott, I think the Cowboys get worse and I think the Giants get better, but I still think
Yeah.
the Cowboys would be the better team. But I think Dak Prescott would do more for whatever team he's on.
Tigo, see the issue with Daniel Jones is it's not the tools he has. That's not
He
the
has-
issue.
He has too much Eli Manning in
it's-
him.
it's
Negative
his
Eli
mental.
Manning.
Daniel Jones's mental game is
Eli's
so
my man.
bad for QB in professional football. He processes defenses way too slow. He goes through his progressions way too slow. He stares down his hot reads.
What progression? They have no line. You have to have a line. To have
You
some
still have
progression.
Listen.
You still have progressions.
Cheddar, did you
If you
see
have a line
that?
or
Did you
not.
see that last preseason game? Tell me you saw that last preseason game against the Jets.
Oh, the backups when the backups were playing.
No, not even the backups.
When the starters played the Giants gave up 1 sack and 3 pressures against the Houston Texans starting defensive front.
I'm not talking about Texas. I'm talking about Jets. Did you see the Jets one?
That's the backups. I don't focus on the back. We're in trouble if the starters get hurt and the backups come in. We're in trouble. The Giants are in trouble. First of all, the Giants are in trouble no matter what. But this isn't a Giant show. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Talking about this team.
This isn't a Giant show.
Listen, guys.
We
Oh
can't,
my
Tigo. We
God.
can't talk about our team. They can talk about theirs.
No, listen. When the NFL draft starts in 2025, we can talk about the Giants a lot and a lot and a lot. All right. Yes, we're gonna be talking about the Giants during the season, and we'll be talking about the games. But I mean, let's just be honest, bro.
Here's what's gonna happen. They're gonna be awful, okay? And they're gonna bring in one of them quarterbacks because Daniel Jones ain't gonna get it done. And
They're
they're
not
gonna
gonna-
have some sort of hope next year because of it. Whether it's Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Shador Sanders.
or if Dak Prescott does not sign with the Cowboys, he is an unrestricted.
We
free
don't
agent.
want him. We don't want him.
I'm just saying he's
Yeah,
Dak
be
to the
unrestricted free
rescue.
agent.
Once a
Okay.
cowgirl, always a
Dak
cowgirl.
is back. No.
You can't come to
Okay,
New York.
that's all I'm saying. So at the end of at the end of the day, the Cowboys are gonna, in my opinion, they're gonna just sign Dak Prescott. I mean, they have to. I mean,
They have to.
It's like they say, who else are they gonna get?
Yeah.
Who?
That's every team.
Who?
Like,
And that's literally every single team.
Who's
Yes,
better
I
than
get-
than your starting quarterback? Like
right. Unless you're gonna draft
How it
somebody,
is.
unless you're gonna tank the season and pray that you can land one of the top 3 drafts and hopefully get one of these quarterbacks, there's nobody out there. You're not gonna get anybody. It's the end of that.
I do want to say one thing with all these contracts that have been being signed here lately.
Yeah.
I just want to say what a genius, a pure genius Brad Holmes is for signing his guys so early with those contracts that everybody was like, oh, this is too much. This is too much. You can't sign Jared Goff for that much. And now look at it. Now look at what is happening.
honestly, you could even say the same for the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. They signed a
Yep.
10-year
Yeah.
deal
Yeah.
4 years ago, and now
Yeah.
50 million back then was like what? And now
I
it's
got
like
you.
that's cheap.
Yeah.
Like,
Actually, it was a 10-year 450. By the way,
They
10 years
got-
450.
10
Now
years,
looking at it-
450. They got off easy.
yeah. Now looking at it, you're like, wow, that was such a great move.
That's a
10
genius
years,
move.
just
Yeah.
wow.
And
For the only QB
Is
that
that
actually
4 years?
Earns it.
earns that
Earns
money.
it. Deserves
It's
it.
been 4
Deserves
years,
it.
right? Has it only been 4 years since that deal?
Yeah, I think he signed it in 2020,
Yeah.
and he's won
Yeah.
what? 3 Super Bowls.
3 Super Bowls since.
He's not worth it.
Yeah, he's the only one worth it.
I mean, I'll take him.
Bro, seriously.
I'll
now
take
you're
it.
doing this for
I'll take
clicks
him
and
too.
likes.
I'll
Listen,
take him
I'll
in
take
that
him too.
Super Bowl where he was hurt. I'll take that Patrick
Right.
Mahomes over any of these other quarterbacks.
You know what I'll take? I'll take the referees in those games who didn't call a single holding
Oh, I
penalty.
wish Jack was here. That's great.
You know what? Listen, I'll take Patrick Mahomes with my wide receivers and my tight end still dropping passes. Okay. And I'll still
Yeah,
watch that.
yeah.
And I can still
I'll
win the game.
take immobile Patrick Mahomes because he's
Patrick
still one
Mahomes or
of
Tom Brady.
Yeah, but-
Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady.
You don't need to be immobile if you get no holding calls. So
Exactly. When your offensive lines is tackling the defensive play. Come on. Stop.
Hey, they're blind.
Jason,
They were
Jason, don't
doing
get
it.
him started. Don't get him
I'm
started.
blind. I want to be a
they were
ref.
doing it in the Lions preseason game, and I was tweeting about it, going nuts about it, and yeah. Just watch the
Not-
game. Let's see. Just watch the game.
No, seriously, not a single holding call in 3 Super Bowls. Stop.
They're clean.
And,
They're
and,
well
and 76, that
They're
right
well
tackle
coached.
always jumping off sides.
Yes.
Always.
No, that's perfectly timed.
Okay.
man. So,
Perfectly rigged.
on that note, does anybody else have anything they want to add?
Go Hawks.
Old Tecmo people, Tecmo Bulls. For those of you out there above, I won't say the age, but up there a little bit of age, that's Tecmo
You got to have a
Bulls.
little gray in your beard.
In my case, it's a lot.
And
Yeah.
holding.
I got a little peach fuzz. I know what
There you
Tecmo
go.
Bowl is.
Well, gentlemen, this episode was fun. I just wanted to say to everyone out there, thank you for watching our show. Thank you for any comments that you have. Please feel free to add any comments or any suggestions to our show.
One thing before
Yes,
you go
please
off.
go ahead, Tigo.
Efren, what's the big college game we all should be watching this week?
Miami.
The Miami game.
Miami, Florida game sounds good to me.
I'm gonna be honest with you. With a lot of these games that we talked about, and I'm gonna put this in 1 or 2 rankings only because now the ACC is open. I think the one game everybody should be watching is Miami and Florida. It's easy to say Notre Dame and Texas A&M because they're ranked, but here's why I say Miami and Florida, because I'm going to be honest with you. It's not the same. College football is not the same, and as much as I can't stand Miami, college football is not the same without Miami.
Right.
It's just that simple.
Saturday, 3:30. Be there.
Okay?
And the Georgia game.
The only reason I despise Miami is because back in the 80s, it was Miami, Oklahoma, Miami, Oklahoma, Miami, Oklahoma. And that's why I can't stand them, especially when they both typically meet in the Orange Bowl. But college football is not the same. And I'm telling you right now, if Miami wins and they start creeping up into the top 10, I am telling you right now, that's when the ACC is going to then start being ACC again. Miami,
knows? I mean, Florida State.
Miami
lost.
creeps in the top. Woo!
Well,
I'm
that's-
telling you, you better watch out. Woo!
well, Florida State lost, but now I want Florida State to win the rest of their games until they do meet up Miami this year, right?
Yes.
Yes, I don't
Okay.
think Miami plays Clemson.
Okay, so I want everybody to then win their games because the matchup I really want to see is Miami and Florida State. Because yes, Miami and Florida State were always top dogs back then, 80s and 90s. I just wanna see-
October 26th.
So if I had to pick a game, that would be my game, Tigo. Miami at Florida.
Gotcha.
And plus, it's an interstate rivalry. Miami, both teams from Florida, so you can't get any better than that. I'll be watching that game as well.
I'll be watching.
So with
3:30.
at 3:30, yep.
3:30.
And with that being said, I just want to tell thank you to everyone that actually that have watched our show. If you have any comments or any suggestions, please feel free to post them online, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere where you see the show. any suggestions. If any of you would like to be a guest on our show, please let us know. Send us an email or where we can reach out to you, and we'll be more than happy.
I got 2 people that
Sure.
want to be guests.
Okay.
Efren, you sound like a Martian right
You're
now.
breaking up.
Oh,
You're
so
little
if anybody
robotic.
They're breaking up.
Cue the music.
Yeah. Well,
Just
thanks for tuning
like-
in, guys.
Yeah, cue the
like and
music.
subscribe, share, and cue the music.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Yo.
First up, here's the host, F. Brand, explaining knowledge that's
And as I always say,
never
God
guessed.
bless and good night.
Next in line is Zach, the stats gang. Call you out, crush you over. This is short shit.
I can hear you.